Hi everybody, welcome back to Change with Dane. I am Dane Campbell. I'm recording this on the 6th of October, 2025. And today I wanted to talk about motivation. So we've spent several weeks talking about where thoughts come from and how they become habitual, and how some of the things you may be thinking about aren't maybe serving you really well. We talked about behaviors and about how behaviors become habits to us, and how some of those behaviors that you may be engaging in or not engaging in are not leading you to what you want in life, whether that's peace or success or happiness. And then I've talked a lot about some very specific skills that you can employ to change either thought or behavior, and some considerations when working through this process, which really most people can do. It's just a matter of kind of knowing the skills, having the desire, and then applying the process long enough so that you develop a new habit, either in thinking or in behaving, that has a greater propensity to add to your peace and success in life. So today I wanted to just address something that maybe will help you moving forward. If you have been struggling with this process, and either the behavior you've chosen or the thought that you've chosen, it's seeming like it's really not working, and you're having a hard time engaging and applying the skills that we've talked about, I wanted to just talk a little bit about motivation and why you are doing this process, and why you're choosing to work with either the behavior or the thought that you chose to work with. Because I think motivation will maybe be a key answer for some people in terms of whether they are getting the success that they desire in this process, or whether it's frustrating them and it's overly difficult to try to get success with what's happening. So if motivation is a challenge for you in keeping this process going, let's ask ourselves a few questions, okay? Why did you choose this particular thought or this particular behavior? Now, some people will have chosen based upon feedback from others. You're always angry. And so you're thinking, well, if I'm thinking things that are making me angry, then I need to change that and be less angry. Perhaps you chose the behavior based upon a situation that was acute in the moment, but that acuity didn't last. So perhaps you got bad news at the doctor office, right? And he was beating up on you because you were too sedentary, or maybe had gained a few pounds. And perhaps it would be better if your health were better, but maybe at this point in your life, that's really not the thing that is the most important to you. So you can see that if you've made a decision to work on an area that isn't really motivating and important to you, it will be very difficult to maintain the focus and the energy to do the skills on a daily basis so that you can create a new habit in thought or behavior. And so again, the question, why did you choose this particular thought or behavior? And is it really the thing that's going to motivate you? If the answer is no, maybe take a step back all the way to the beginning and pick a behavior or a thought that is really something that you feel if you changed it, it will bring you greater peace or success. It will speak to your heart and make you feel better about who you are and what you are. So just take a step back and look at that behavior in terms of the motivating factor in moving forward with this process. Another question that I think speaks to motivation is, what if this thing never changes? So if the thought process that you're working on, if it never gets any better and it just remains static, what will your future look like? Will it really, lead to you being less satisfied with life? Or is it just something that's kind of periphery on the day-to-day and it's not really that important or motivating to you? What if it does change and it's the very best thing for you? Does that become motivating? And perhaps the question should have been way back in the beginning of the process. If I could change one thing, and it was a very small thing, what would that be to have one of the greatest impacts on my life if I'm creating a new behavior or a new thought? How can I see my life being different if I change this behavior? So sometimes we need to ask ourselves that question, especially mid-process, because the day-to-day, the practicing of these skills, it's sometimes not real fun. And if it's a cold morning and it's raining outside and you have to get up and lace on those shoes, because if you don't, you're not going to meet your goal that week of more physical activity, that sucks, and that is hard sometimes, especially if you don't really like the activity you got to go do. And so it really behooves you to ask yourself, if what is my motivation in this change? And if it's, I got to get healthy so I can be there to see my grandkids and be active with them, or I got to stop being so angry and cutting myself down with my thoughts, or I'm going to give myself a heart attack or high blood pressure. I mean, those are the kinds of things that really play into motivation, and sometimes we have to ask ourselves, and if we've settled on a behavior to change or a thought to change and they're not really that important, this process probably is not going to really work long term, because the energy will not be behind it. The motivation will not be behind it. So again, sometimes a question of motivation. Maybe sometimes to look at this process of motivation and the thought of motivation and say, have I bit off a little bit more than I can chew? So you've heard the joke, right? How do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. How do you change behaviors and thoughts? One small step at a time. So if your goal was to run a marathon and you're trying to do all the things, you're trying to do the stretching, the training, the diet, all of those things all at once, it might be overwhelming. It might get to the point where there's so many different things that you're trying to work with, focus on, and change that you're getting lost in the forest. So it might behoove you to just take a step back and work on getting those workouts in. And once you've done, that is a set behavior that you do on the schedule that you need to do each week, then you add the additional stretching. Or maybe you then start looking at your diet and what you're eating and how you're fueling your body. Sometimes you can do it all at the same time, but sometimes it just becomes overwhelming. So again, I just ask you, if you're having a difficulty with motivation, are you asking too much of yourself in changing and setting up a process to learn new habits that are going to be beneficial to you? Again, I just wanted to kind of address the motivation issue. I know we've been at this for a few weeks, and sometimes it's good to get a little pep talk, take a little step back, make sure we're on the right path, make sure that the thing we've chosen to work on is the right thing for us, and that we can see some success in the process, and the things that we are working on are really important to us, because it's okay to change the thing you're working on, right? Change is good, change is fine. And so if you determine the thing that you're working on is not the right thing for you right now, let's change it. Let's pick a different thought. Let's pick a different behavior, something that will motivate you and keep you working on this process for the long haul. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you being here. I hope this is helpful. Please comment, please like, please subscribe. It's great to have you back, and I hope that these ideas are helpful for you as you seek out ways to gain greater peace and success in your life. Have a great week. Take care.